The morning is like water, ever flowing, ever changing, yet containing infinite power. When I was young, training in the streets of Hong Kong, I would watch the harbor at dawn. The water taught me more than any master could. It showed me that true strength comes not from rigidity, from perfect adaptation. I am Bruce Lee. What I share with you today is not another technique, not another method to memorize. It is a truth I discovered through thousands of mornings, through countless hours of seeking the very essence of what makes a warrior unstoppable. You see, when water flows into a cup, it becomes the cup. When it flows into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. This same principle governs our morning consciousness. The first light of dawn is your cup. How will you flow into it? Most people resist the morning. They fight against it, trying to remain rigid like ice. But ice breaks, water flows. In my backyard in Kowloon, practicing my forms before the sun rose, I began to understand. The morning doesn't care about your name, your style, or your achievements. Like water finding its way through cracks, the morning light seeps into every corner of your being, revealing your true nature. There is nowhere to hide, no mask to wear. It's just you facing your own reflection in a still pond of consciousness. I remember those solitary dawns, feeling the dew beneath my feet, hearing the first birds welcome the day. Even then, I knew that what separated the ordinary from the extraordinary wasn't what they did when the world was watching. It was what they became in these silent moments, when the only witness was their own spirit. Your morning is like an empty vessel. If you fill it with rigid thoughts, predetermined limitations, it becomes exactly that, a prison of your own making. But if you empty your mind, if you become formless, shapeless, like water, then each dawn becomes a gateway to infinite possibility. The morning can flow through you, or it can crash against you. The choice is yours. Let me share with you what the water taught me about these sacred hours. Not as someone who mastered the morning, but as one who learned to flow with it. Because while others saw the sunrise as the end of rest, I discovered it to be the beginning of transformation. Remember, water in its gentlest form can carve through solid rock, not through force, but through persistence. Your morning practice is the same. It's not about aggressive domination of the day, but about flowing persistently toward your true potential. Are you ready to become like water, my friend? In my years of training, I discovered that each hour of the morning carries its own energy, its own significance. But it was the hour before sunrise that held the greatest power, what the ancient Chinese called Zihora, the hour of midnight's water. When I trained in the streets of Hong Kong, an old master once told me, "Young man, you chase power like a tiger chases its prey." The true power, it rises with the morning mist. At first I didn't understand, like most young martial artists. I thought power came from speed, from strength, from technique. I was wrong. You see, the dawn holds secrets that most will never discover. In those moments when night surrenders today, there exists a perfect balance of yin and yang. This is when your chi, your life force, is most receptive to change. I learned this not from books, not from teachers, but from experiencing it day after day, year after year. Think of your consciousness like still water in a pond. During the day, it's disturbed by countless ripples, thoughts, worries, distractions. But in these early hours, the water is perfectly still. This stillness, this clarity, this is where true power begins. I remember one morning in particular, I was training by the harbor, practicing my forms. As I moved, I noticed how the first light touched the water. The water didn't resist the light. It didn't question it. It simply embraced it, became one with it. This is when I truly understood what it meant to be formless. Most people wake with the sun already high, their minds already clouded with yesterday's thoughts and tomorrow's concerns. The warrior, the true martial artist, rises before the sun to catch the essence of tranquility. This is not about discipline for discipline's sake. This is about understanding a fundamental truth that your morning mind is like uncarved jade, pure potential, waiting to be shaped. In the quiet of dawn, you can hear your own heartbeat, feel the rhythm of your breath. This is when you're most capable of what I call emotional content, the ability to feel, to understand, to transform. Not through force, but through awareness. Not through resistance, but through harmony. You see, the dawn doesn't just mark the beginning of a new day. It marks the death of your old self and the birth of your new self. Each morning is a small death, a small rebirth. And in this cycle lies the secret to constant growth, constant evolution. Remember, water doesn't worry about whether it will flow, it simply flows. The dawn doesn't concern itself with whether it will arrive, it simply arrives. This is the kind of certainty, this kind of natural power that you must cultivate in your morning practice. The question is, are you ready to embrace the power of dawn, or will you continue to live in the shadows of mediocrity? When you first open your eyes in that moment between sleep and wakefulness, most rush to fill their minds with thoughts, with plans, with worries. But I discovered something profound in that delicate moment, the art of emptiness. It begins with the breath, not the shallow breathing of sleep, but the deep, conscious breath of awareness. As I lie there, I first observe my breath like a watchful guardian at a gate. Each inhale brings clarity. Each exhale releases the remnants of sleep. This is not meditation, as many understand it. This is consciousness becoming conscious of itself. In those first moments, your mind is like a calm pool of water. Every thought, every intention you drop into it creates ripples that will affect your entire day. This is why I never reached for newspapers, never rushed to plan or worry. Instead, I learned to cultivate what I call the mind before thought. My first Sifu taught me forms. My second Sifu taught me techniques. But the morning taught me the most valuable lesson. How to prepare the mind for combat with the greatest opponent you will ever face, yourself. The mental preparation I developed wasn't complex. Complexity is the enemy of effectiveness. Instead, it was about understanding a simple truth that the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your actions. Like water adapting to its container, your mind must learn to adapt to the vessel of each new day. I discovered that by taking these first moments to empty my cup, to clear away preconceptions, expectations, and rigid thinking, I could approach each day with the mind of a beginner. And in this beginner's mind lies the seed of true mastery. Most seek to fill their minds with knowledge, with techniques, with plans. But I tell you this, true power lies not in accumulation, but in cultivation, like a garden must be weeded before new seeds can grow. Your mind must be cleared before true strength can emerge. Your thoughts in these first waking moments are like the first drops of water that will become a mighty river. Choose them carefully. Let them be pure. Let them be powerful. Let them flow naturally from your true self, not from the expectations of others or the limitations of yesterday. Remember, the mind is like water. When it becomes agitated, it becomes difficult to see. But if you allow it to settle, everything becomes clear. This clarity, this is the foundation of all that will follow. Are you ready to master these first moments? To transform your mental preparation from a routine into an art? The choice, as always, lies within you. The body is more than flesh and bone. It is an expression of the mind's intention. Each morning, as consciousness awakens, the body must follow in a dance as old as humanity itself. Let me share with you what I discovered about awakening the warrior's body. I begin with stillness. Not the stillness of sleep, but the alert stillness of a cat before it springs. From this stillness comes the first movement. A deep breath that reaches not just the lungs, but every cell. This breath is like the first ripple in a still pond, awakening energy that has been dormant through the night. In my early days in Hong Kong, I learned the hard way that rushing into movement was like trying to force a flower to bloom. The body has its own wisdom, its own timing. So I developed what I call the awakening sequence. A progression as natural as water flowing downstream. First I wiggle my toes, feeling the energy rise from the ground up. Then I rotate each joint from ankles to neck. Not with force, but with awareness. Like oiling the hinges of a gate, each movement prepares the body for what's to come. This is an exercise. This is awakening the body's own healing power. The spine. The spine. It's like the trunk of a great tree. I roll it slowly, vertebra by vertebra, letting it find its natural alignment. Many focus only on muscles, on strength. The true power flows through a spine that's as flexible as a young bamboo, yet as stable as an ancient oak. Then comes the breath training. Not the mechanical breathing of daily life, but what I call combat breathing. Deep, controlled breaths that fuel every cell with energy. 3 sets of 9 breaths, each one deeper than the last. This isn't just about oxygen. It's about chi, about life force itself. I discovered that the body speaks its own language in these early hours. Tension, tightness. These are messages. Don't fight them. Listen to them. Like water finding its way around rocks, let your movement flow naturally around any resistance. Some days the body feels like lead. Other days it feels light as a feather. Both are perfect. Both are exactly as they should be. The key is not to judge, not to force, but to understand and adapt. This is what I mean when I say be like water. Remember, physical awakening isn't about pushing yourself to exhaustion before the day begins. It's about harmonizing mind and body, about preparing your instrument for the symphony of action that lies ahead. Your body is like a finely tuned weapon. It must be awakened with respect, with understanding, with purpose. In these moments of physical awakening, you learn the truth of what I've always taught. The body follows the mind, but the mind must respect the body. They are not 2 separate things, but one unified expression of your warrior spirit. Are you ready to discover the true meaning of being physically awake? The core of a warrior isn't built in a day, it's forged in the fire of countless mornings. But let me tell you something that might surprise you. The most powerful training isn't always the most intense. It's the most mindful. In those early hours after awakening the body, I discovered a truth that transformed my understanding of strength. Your core, what Chinese masters call dantian, is not just a set of muscles. It's the center of your being. The source of all power. I remember training in my backyard, discovering that one perfect push-up, done with complete awareness, was worth more than 100 done mindlessly. This isn't about counting repetitions. It's about making each movement an expression of your will, your intention, your very essence. My morning training wasn't what most would expect. I began with what I call silk movements. Exercises that flow like silk unrolling. Each movement initiates from the core, like ripples spreading from the center of a pond. A punch isn't just a punch, it's an expression of power flowing from your center through your fist. Take the plank position. Most hold it with tension, with struggle. But I learned to hold it like water holds its surface tension, calm above. Powerful below 3 minutes in this position, breathing deeply, feeling every muscle engage not with force, but with awareness. This is how you build not just strength, but control. Then come the dragon flags, an exercise that reveals the true nature of core power. But here's what most don't understand. It's not about lifting your body. It's about becoming as light as a leaf while remaining as solid as a mountain. Each repetition is a conversation between gravity and will. The key to morning training lies not in the exercises themselves, but in the mind behind them. When I do my elbow rollouts, I'm not just working muscles. I'm practicing the art of controlled expansion and contraction, like water flowing and receding with the tide. I discovered that true power comes not from tension, but from the perfect balance between relaxation and engagement. Like water, can be both soft and powerful. Your morning training must cultivate both qualities. This is what I mean when I say the stiffest tree is most easily cracked, while the bamboo or willow survives by bending with the wind. Each morning I conclude my core training not with exhaustion, but with vitality, because the goal isn't to deplete your energy, but to cultivate it, to make it flow like a mighty river through every movement, every breath, every intention. Remember, the warrior's core is not built through force alone, but through the daily practice of mindful movement, through the understanding that true strength flows from the center outward, like waves from the depths of the ocean. Are you prepared to discover the true source of your power? In the depths of morning practice, beyond the physical, beyond the mental, lies a dimension that most warriors never reach. The spiritual essence of training, what I discovered in those solitary hours before dawn, was the true key to limitless power. I learned this truth not in a temple, not from a master, but in moments of pure presence, when your body moves with perfect awareness. When your mind becomes still like an undisturbed pool, something extraordinary happens. You touch the infinite. Some call this meditation, but it's far more. In my training, I discovered that spiritual growth isn't about sitting still with eyes closed. It's about finding that perfect moment when action and awareness become one, like water that reflects the moon. Perfectly only when it's undisturbed. Your spirit reflects truth only when you reach this state of pure being. Every morning after my physical training, I practice what the ancient masters called moving meditation. But I don't just move, I dissolve. The boundary between self and action disappears. A punch is no longer a punch, a kick is no longer a kick. They become expressions of something deeper, something timeless. You see, most martial artists train their bodies. Some train their minds. But few understand that true mastery comes from training the spirit. This isn't mystical nonsense, it's practical truth. When your spirit is strong, when your intent is pure, your techniques become effortless. Like water flowing downhill, they happen by themselves. In these morning hours, I practice emptying my cup completely. Not just of thoughts, but of the very notion of self. This is what I mean when I say be formless. When you truly empty yourself, the universal power can flow through you without obstruction. Your movements become like the wind, natural, effortless, powerful. I remember one morning practicing by the sea. As I moved through my forms, I suddenly understood the wave doesn't try to crash upon the shore. It simply follows its nature. This is the essence of spiritual training. Not to force, not to try, but to be so in harmony with your true nature that power flows naturally. Each morning presents a choice to practice as a technician of movement, or to train as a warrior of the spirit. The difference lies not in what you do, but in how deeply you understand the truth behind the movement. Like water can be shallow or deep while appearing the same on the surface. Training can be merely physical or profoundly spiritual. Remember, the ultimate purpose of spiritual training isn't to escape the physical world, but to bring the infinite into every movement, every breath, every moment. This is what transforms mere technique into art. And art into a path of enlightenment. The question isn't whether you can punch or kick. The question is, can you become so empty that the universe itself flows through your movements? The body is like a sword, and food is the fire that tempers it. Through years of training and experimentation, I discovered that morning nutrition isn't just about eating. It's about understanding the precise moment when the body is ready to receive nourishment. In my early days, I made the mistake many warriors make, training on a full stomach or worse, eating heavy meals immediately after practice. The ancient masters had a saying, eat like a peasant in the morning, a merchant at noon, and a king at night. But I discovered an even deeper truth. The morning body is like a dormant flame. Feed it too much and you smother it. Feed it too little and it weakens. I learned to wait to let my practice kindle the inner fire first. Only when the body is fully awakened, when every cell is humming with energy from training, do I take my first nourishment. My morning meal was simply yet precise, a raw egg. In warm water with a splash of brandy, not for show. Not for taste, but for function. You see protein in its purest form combined with the warmth that opens the channels of qi. Some called this strange, but I understood what others didn't. That nutrition isn't about satisfaction, it's about optimization. I discovered that the body's wisdom far exceeds our common beliefs about breakfast in these early hours. Your body is like a finely tuned instrument. Heavy foods are like thick oil on delicate strings. They dull the vibration, dampen the response. Instead, I chose foods that were light but potent. Nuts soaked overnight in water, fresh fruits that hadn't lost their life force, herbs that had been proven through centuries of martial tradition. But here's what most don't understand. The timing is as crucial as the substance, like a martial technique, must be delivered at precisely the right moment to have maximum effect. Morning nutrition must be timed to harmonize with your body's natural rhythm. I learned to listen to my body's signals, not the clock. Some days my body asked for nothing but pure water until the sun was high. Other days it demanded immediate nourishment. This is an inconsistency. This is the highest form of consistency, being true to your body's actual needs rather than following rigid rules. Remember, nutrition is not about following someone else's system. It's about understanding your own body's language, about feeling the subtle signals that tell you exactly what you need when you need it. Like water adapts perfectly to any container, your nutrition must adapt perfectly to your body's changing needs. The power of morning nutrition lies not in complexity, but in purity and timing. When you understand this, food becomes not just fuel, but a tool for transcendence. Ask yourself, are you eating by habit, or are you nourishing your warrior spirit? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single morning. In my years of training, teaching, and discovering, I found that true transformation isn't about what you know. It's about what you do with what you know. Everything I've shared with you today, the mental preparation, the physical awakening, the core training, the spiritual growth, the nutritional wisdom. They are like fingers pointing to the moon. Don't focus on the fingers or you'll miss all that heavenly glory. I've walked this path, testing every step, questioning every tradition, discarding what doesn't work, and refining what does. The morning routine I've revealed isn't just a sequence of actions. It's a gateway to discovering your own warrior's path. But understand this. Knowledge without action is like having a sword and never unsheathing it. The power of the morning lies not in knowing these principles, but in living them, breathing them, becoming them. Like water can exist as vapor, liquid or ice, you too must be able to adapt and flow while maintaining your essential nature. Many will hear these words and nod in agreement. Few will actually rise tomorrow and begin. Even fewer will continue the next day and the day after that. But those few, they are the ones who will discover what I discovered. That within each of us lies dormant power beyond imagination, waiting to be awakened in those precious morning hours. The difference between a warrior and a dreamer isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even dedication. It's the willingness to face each morning as an opportunity for transformation, to embrace the discipline, not as a burden, but as a path to freedom. I stand before you, not as someone who achieved perfection, but as one who found a way to constant growth. Each morning is a new beginning, a new chance to express the inexpressible, to achieve the unachievable, to become the impossible. Now the choice lies before you, like a sword waiting to be grasped. Will you continue to live as you have, letting your mornings slip away like water through your fingers? Or will you rise tomorrow before the sun and begin this journey of transformation? Remember my words. Be water, my friend. But more than that, be the force that moves the water. Be the stillness before action. Be the power that flows without force. Be the warrior who rises before the world awakens. The morning awaits you. The path lies open. The time for action is now. This is Bruce Lee reminding you that the real question isn't whether you can do this. The real question is, are you ready to discover who you truly are?